So many massive stories to get through today. I hope you are very well. Meghan Markle's latest podcast is out, and as ever, the Duchess makes it all about herself as she overshares about her 2 pregnancies and reveals how her shocking vanity threatened the safety of Archie and Lily before they even arrived. Meanwhile, Meghan continues to gaslight her own father, Thomas Markle, as the lonely 80-year-old faces the prospect of never seeing his daughter again or meeting his grandchildren. But first, it's war. Just as King Charles makes a diplomatically important trip to Canada as its head of state, Prince Harry decides to steal his thunder and grab the headlines with a self-indulgent trip to China. Now, this demonstrates an extraordinary lack of respect on the part of Prince Harry towards his own father. And following that traitorous BBC interview, in which he callously said he doesn't know how long his father's got, it now looks like Harry has lost all empathy altogether and is now openly trolling, mocking, and undermining his old man. Now, Prince Harry has travelled to Shanghai in China. By the way, Harry's so worried about his safety, but he goes to China where security is dicey at best. The police are corrupt. There are gangs. There is a black market in illegal goods, narcotics. China is a dangerous country, and Harry feels safe. By the way, one of the worst things about China is the government, the Chinese Communist Party that run that country, who are deeply sinister. But Harry feels safe there. He won't go to the Cotswolds in Oxfordshire in England because he thinks it's full of terrorists, but he's quite happy to go to China, which isn't even a democracy. So he goes to China. At exactly the same time, the King Charles goes to Canada. Don't forget that King Charles is the King of Canada, which is not a bad shout, is it? That's not a bad moniker to have. So this is all about diluting what Charles is trying to do. It's taking the headlines, it's stealing the thunder, it's undermining his own father, the King of the United Kingdom. So what was Harry's important event? Well, he attended the Envision 2025 Global Partner Conference as co-founder of Travelist, his sustainable travel organisation. What does Harry know about sustainability? Famous for travelling the world in a private jet and living in a $20 million mansion in Montecito, which allegedly, reportedly boasts 16 bathrooms. There's a pool which needs to be heated in the cold weather. God knows how much water they get through, how much electricity they get through, and we know about the Sussex's air miles. But now, he's the new Greta Thunberg. He is an eco-warrior. Make it make sense. So let's get to the bones of this. His first ever trip to China, timed, as I say, with his father's trip to Canada. That's so disrespectful. Be clear that King Charles's calendar is booked years in advance. Okay, this is very carefully choreographed. And so Harry will have known about this. If Harry didn't know about his father's diary, he could easily have reached out because he is the king's son. And it's perfectly possible for him to ascertain as to his father's movements so as not to disrupt his father's important diplomatic work. And it is important diplomatic work because I love America and I love China, and I'm not going to take sides in this one. But at the moment, America and Canada. I'm not going to take sides between America and Canada. But at the moment, America is trying to buy Canada. And Canada is saying, hey man, we're not for sale, So how was my Canadian accent? Will you accept that? I had a great Canadian friend at university, and the way that I got on top of the Canadian accent is only to open part of my mouth. So what you do is you just go, I'm from Canada, Don't open your mouth fully and you'll sound Canadian, Does that work? Let me know in the comments. Anyhow, so this is a clear attempt to eclipse his father. We know that. So he's gone to China as an eco-warrior because he's so environmentally friendly. And so he could easily have checked with the palace about his father's movements so that his father can actually be the focal point. And can I tell you something based on a kind of family values ethic, okay, based on family principles? the father of the family should always be front and center, and the mother. The mother and the father should be front and center. I've lost my father, sadly. He's greatly missed. What a legend he was. Seamus Dolan Esquire, icon. And I never stole the thunder of my father, because he was the master of the house, the leader of the family. And as long as he was on this planet, I would never do anything to undermine him, because he was my old man. He was our monarch. He was the king of our family, of our kingdom. So how Harry can do that on a personal level, I don't know. But it's because the guy is so toxic now. He's so riven with bitterness and rage that he's willing to do incalculable damage, including effectively declaring to the world that his father is terminally ill. I mean, that's when he said, I don't know how long my father's got. You are telling the world that your father is terminally ill, which I pray is not the case. So this is another fake royal tour. Harry does not need to go to China. He doesn't need to fly to China to talk about the environment. Make it make sense. And he doesn't need to do it at the same time that his father goes to Canada, where the king is trying to stop Canada being sold to the United States. He's the king of Canada. He's trying to save Canada from a hostile takeover. And so what he's done is he's done a fake royal tour. And we know that Harry is a fan of these because he's been to Nigeria for a fake royal tour where he and his lovely wife, I use the term lovely very lightly, in inverted commas, they turned up to Nigeria pretending to be HRH, pretending to be a royal couple, which massively irritated the palace. Then they went to Colombia. By the way, Nigeria and Colombia, both beautiful countries, both quite hazardous. I did get a comment yesterday from a Nigerian viewer who said, Mark, don't be so harsh on Nigeria. And you know what? You're right. And I need to go to Nigeria. And I do happen to know that it's a beautiful country with incredible nature, amazing people, great food, culture, history, you name it. So I take your point, but I think you'll agree it is a hazardous location for someone that's so worried about his security. But another fake royal tour. Similarly, he went to Ukraine, which is at war, but he's worried about his safety. So now he goes to China, which is a corrupt totalitarian regime, which treats its own people horrifically. The human rights record is just non-existent. But Harry's happy to go there, happy to put his stupid, ignorant, bearded face to this despotic regime. Do you think Charles would swan off to China on a jolly, ranting and raving about the environment? No, he wouldn't, because he knows that China has a case to answer in terms of its conduct as a sovereign nation. So Harry's quotes from the speech. Climate change, he said, isn't just an environmental challenge. It's a critical business emergency, costing the global economy $143 billion annually. By the way, this is a cash grab from Harry. Harry doesn't care about the environment. He is part of this eco startup, which is called Travelist, and that's to make money. So this is very cynical. He's not trying to save the planet. He's trying to save his bank account because he's broke. Meghan is making money. She's got the Netflix deal, 16 episodes of With Love, Meghan. And as we reported on the show yesterday in the previous video, there are more Netflix shows to come. Insiders are telling this program that that deal for Meghan will be renewed. They'll call it, Duke and Duchess Sussex will renew the deal. It's Meghan all the way. So she's bringing the money in. She's making the headlines. Harry's got no headlines. No one's talking about him. He's not up to anything interesting. And he's certainly not making any money. But he's decided, therefore, that he's going to get into the environmental grift. He said the Asia-Pacific region is strongly positioned to adopt policies to support net zero. He said, now's the moment for the industry to reaffirm its commitment to being a force for good. What does Harry know about being a force for good? He's just announced that his father's terminally ill. He's left his family, called them a bunch of racists, racists, and he's pretty much just annoyed everyone close to him. He said, challenges will undoubtedly rise, but if there's one thing I've learned in my life, it's that meaningful change never comes easily. Oh, is that what you've learned in your life? I've learned in my life that that's one thing I've learned. is that meaningful change never comes easily. Well, that's right, because you've changed your life, haven't you, Harry? You've moved to Montecito, California, where you're bored out of your skull, sitting and having dinner parties with George and Amal Clooney, with George Clooney boring you to tears about his latest film project and how he helped with the script, and they brought in some kind of exciting locations manager because they're doing it in the desert. No one cares, George! You're boring me to tears. And then George Clooney announces he dyed his hair. It's naturally grey, but it's dark for this role. And he had to put on weight for the part. That's what Harry signed up for, is tedious dinner parties with George Clooney and Amal Clooney, human rights lawyer. I love human rights. I think they're a good thing. It's a big thumbs up. But please, banging on about human rights in Syria when I'm trying to enjoy my ribeye steak with a peppercorn sauce and triple cooked fries. Harry said the true measure of our commitment is how we respond when the past becomes difficult. We must never give up. How dare you say we? What is we? You're not part of any movement. You're a spoiled aristocrat who won the womb lottery by being the son of the Princess of Wales, Diana, and the son of then Prince Charles, now King Charles, your own father, who you've decided to troll and to abuse by traveling on a big international trip at exactly the same time when he is trying to hashtag save Canada, which is currently on eBay with a buy it now price of $100 billion. His trip is part of a renewed personal strategy to develop his own commercial ventures. Yes, and he's not got a commercial bone in his body. A very deluded source told the Mail newspaper, Harry is unkindly described as the spare to Meghan's endeavours. That's not unkind. That's a statement of fact. This rather woke insider goes on, in reality, he's been giving her the space to flourish. In other words, he's been letting her develop herself, grow her social media footprint and her business empire, while he sits there in his underground lair in the basement of his Montecito mansion, to which only Meghan has the keys. And every so often she lowers down a bucket of Wendy burger just to keep him going. Humpy dumpy dumpy dump, the world's least happy millionaire. Thanks for my Wendy burger, my love. Will I ever see daylight again? Humpy dumpy dumpy dump. Will I get outside today, Meghan? Not today! You stay in the underground dungeon! You've been a naughty boy! So the insider says now is his time to throw himself into exciting new work. Harry is not a commercial personality. How could you be when you were born into millions? And not millions, not entrepreneurial millions. So there are lots of entrepreneurs whose parents were entrepreneurs. And yes, they kept that tradition going. This guy is essentially, I don't want to be unkind, but he's an aristocrat. Okay, so that is an accident of birth. It is lucky DNA. It is not endeavor. It's not achievement. It is a silver spoon in your mouth. And therefore, he hasn't got that instinct, that entrepreneurial instinct. And I guarantee you that he won't make money. His businesses will flop as they always have. And this will give Meghan more power, which is why I said in the last interview that she's planning life post-Harry, post-divorce. That's why she's doing the Instagram, to have a massive social media footprint. She is playing the long game. That's why she's got the As Ever brand, which at the moment is defunct, but it may do something at some point. And of course, that's why she's got the broadcasting career. Lover or hater, we'll be talking about Meghan Markle for many years to come. Meanwhile, Harry is just disappearing into obscurity. By design, this is what Meghan wants. And don't forget, what Meghan wants, Meghan gets. So Charles and Camilla have arrived in Ottawa, Canada on a 2-day royal visit, and he is the King of Canada. I heard it on the radio yesterday that he's the King of Canada. I thought, I forgot that, because I always think he's the King of the United Kingdom, but he is the King of Canada. That's not bad, is it? Imagine if you wake up in the morning and you're feeling a bit grumpy, maybe you're slightly hungover, or you just didn't have a good night's sleep or something, or you've received a parking ticket or an unexpected tax bill, and then you think, oh, wait a minute, I am the King of Canada. That's not bad, is it? So I think we'll give the King a mic drop for being the King of Canada, which is not for sale. And it's his first visit to Canada since becoming king in 2022, which is a great thing. The trip comes whilst Charles is still undergoing weekly cancer treatments. The guy is battling cancer. He drags himself over to Canada to save the country, represent the people of Canada, all Canadians, including the Québécois. Bonjour, comment ça va, mes amis? J'ai reçu beaucoup de messages de gens de Québec. Et je voudrais visiter un jour. C'est ma grande aspiration. Do you know something? If Charles decided not to be King of Canada anymore, I'm quite happy to be considered for the role, given my command of Québécois, don't you think? So Charles is undergoing cancer. He drags himself to Canada, and Harry thinks it's appropriate to steal his thunder, going, yeah, my cancer-ridden father has gone to North America to save the sovereignty of a country. So what I'll do is I'll go to a dictatorship, a totalitarian dictatorship, and I will upstage him. It's quite amazing, isn't it? The visit is described as brief but impactful. Well, it's going to be less impactful because we're talking about Harry, not King Charles. We should be talking about Charles and Camilla and Mark Carney. Mark Carney is the new Prime Minister of Canada. And the way that you impersonate Mark Carney, as with any Canadian, is to close most of your mouth when you speak. And you are Canadian. And he's a new Prime Minister. And he's going to do a good job. In fact, I know Mark Carney because he used to be the governor of the Bank of England. Oh, Bank of England. And he was a pretty good central banker. The only thing he did do, Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, he did start printing money. Which he called quantitative easing, which is a very posh name for printing money, which was somewhat inflationary and for which we are still paying the price. However, he seems like a nice guy, and I wish him good luck in his endeavours to save Canada and do a great job. I don't take sides in this politics stuff. I'm not interested. That's not what this show is about. It goes beyond politics. It's like the United States. Some of you love El Presidente, the great Donaldo. Some of you do not. And I love all Americans. I love all Canadians. So that's where I stand on it. I think what we want to do is actually bring people together. I would sing Come Together by the Beatles, but it will cost £8 million in royalties. So I'm not going to do that. I feel like I can get away with the Elton stuff because he knows I'm a devoted fan. I think I'm in the Elton inner circle, if that doesn't sound obscene. Let's crack on. We've got so much to get through. Find out how Meghan is gaslighting her own father, Thomas Markle, in just a moment. Plus crazy admissions from the Duchess Difficult, about her pregnancies and how she risked the safety of Lily and Archie. It's an amazing story. But anyway, so first, Charles in Ottawa. Upon arrival, greeted by Governor General Mary Simon, Governor General, and the Prime Minister Mark Carney, who loves a bit of money printing. And Charles immediately attended a community event to meet Canadians representing diverse cultural and charitable organisations. That's brilliant. Queen Camilla was sworn in. Queen Camilla sworn in as a member of the Canadian Privy Council during the trip. By the way, is she rocking it as the Queen or what? I think she's doing a great job. In future shows, we're going to talk about how great Queen Camilla is. The royal couple planted a commemorative tree at Rideau Hall, the Governor General's official residence. It was planted near the sugar maple that they previously planted in 2017, before Charles became king. The visit occurs amid President Trump's suggestion that Canada could become the 51st US state. Mark Carney said it's not for sale, and it is significant that the king is there to bolster the status and integrity of Canada as an independent country. Let's get to it. Meghan's latest podcast. By the way, I don't know why she bothers with guests, because it's all about her. She's got an amazing lady on. She's got Sara Blakely, who invented the SPANX. Are you familiar with SPANX? This is underwear that makes your body look better than it actually is. It's very, very tight, elasticated underwear that makes you look very slim and attractive. Let me tell you that I'm wearing Spanx right up to my neck. That's why I look so good. When the show's over, I just I pull the SPANX down and it's like a tsunami of flab that just explodes. I am Mr. SPANX. No, it's a very clever invention. And this woman, Sara Blakely, has achieved an amazing amount in her life. She's a billionaire. She's a successful founder on Meghan's show, which is called Confessions of a Female Founder. Meghan's not a founder. She found a prince. That's quite different. So she's got this amazing lady on who's changed the world with SPANX, these figure-hugging underwear items, which have changed the world because it's allowed women who are of a curvaceous nature to wear underwear that then is very flattering, so they can have dresses and skirts and other stuff, which is flattering. So it really improves the silhouette, the SPANX. And Sarah, to her credit, for 5 years was selling fax machines door to door. And she was having her business cards chopped up. She was being told to go away, don't come back. So this woman was really struggling. And she said, I needed to change the script of my life. And she had a complete rethink. 2 years later, she comes up with the SPANX. She went to a party and I think she had these tights and I think she cut holes at the bottom where the feet go, and the rest is history. So that is an accomplishment, and millions of women around the world and a few men wear the SPANX and love them. She made a lot of money. So does Meghan ask her about that? No. Meghan wants to talk about herself and bangs on about her pregnancy. So you've got this amazing inventor here who has liberated women and preserved their dignity with these polyester stretchy items. And instead, Meghan decides to bang on about what her pregnancies were like. By the way, she mentions the pregnancies the whole time. A lot of you in the comments, by the way, are not having the pregnancies. A lot of you think that she did not have those babies. I have no knowledge. I have no information on that. But you're entitled to your opinion, and no one gets cancelled on the Mark Dolan show. This is a broad church, and you're entitled to think what you think. And we'll do a deep dive on the pregnancy rumours on a future show. But Meghan revealed in her pregnancy, she said, I gained 65 pounds with both pregnancies. Why are you telling us this? That's indiscreet. Who wants to know about that? And you call yourself the Duchess of Sussex, and you're telling us about your weight gain during pregnancy. It's indiscreet. We don't want to know. It's TMI. Do you know what that means? It means too much information. So she gained 65 pounds, highlighting the physical changes that she underwent. No one cares. She describes the difficulty of maintaining balance while wearing 5-inch pointy-toed stilettos. She said you had the most enormous bump and your tiny little ankles are bracing themselves in these high heels, but all of my weight was in the front, so you're just going, how on earth am I not tipping forward and face planting? She said she relied on Harry for support. Right? This was the last time he was useful to her, was to hold her up, stop her face planting in her high heels when she was pregnante. She said, I was clinging very closely to my husband. Can you not call him Harry? That's his name. Would that be wrong to call him Harry? I was clinging very closely to my husband. I was like, please don't let me fall. Now, let me tell you that it's deeply irresponsible to wear high heels when you're heavily pregnant. Most women don't do it because they want to be safe. Meghan is reckless, and it's her shocking vanity which has allowed her to ride roughshod over the safety of Lily and Archie. Reckless, irresponsible, and also, I think, not very becoming of a member of the royal family to stagger around in kind of nightclub stilettos whilst 6 months in the family way. Seriously. But we know about Meghan's cavalier attitude to safety, right? I mean, God forbid something could have happened to Lily or Archie if she'd gone tumbling in those heels, tottering down the steps of Buckingham Palace. And but we know that she's got no duty of care to the kids. I revealed in the last video that she's taken Lily beekeeping. She's exposed her Lily, age 3 at the time, now 4, I think, to angry hornets, thousands of them. Irresponsible. What's next? Is she going to teach her some fire breathing? Maybe lion taming? What about swallowing a sword? Can you do that, Lily? Because Mum wants you to, because she's got no understanding of risk, danger, or jeopardy. because she was wearing high heels when she was very pregnant whilst doing a triathlon. Please. Meghan faced significant criticism for her choice to wear heels late into her pregnancies. Medical experts warned that wearing high heels during pregnancy can increase the risk of falls due to balance issues and the loosening of ligaments caused by pregnancy hormones. The College of Podiatry recommends that pregnant women wear comfortable, supportive footwear, preferably with an adjustable fitting such as Velcro or laces, and avoid high heels as they can place unnecessary pressure on your joints at a time when they're already under strain. So this is the madness of it. This is Meghan, and she's admitting on this podcast, by the way, why are you talking about yourself? It's an interview show. Is it not possible to ask the woman that invented SPANX a couple of questions? Is it too much to lob her a couple of interrogative sentences to which she might respond and from which we might all learn something? Is it too much to ask to interview this accomplished billionaire inventor? Absolutely wild. So that's the issue you've got. That is the madness of it. Let me tell you that there is more to come. It actually gets worse, because the conversation on Confessions of a Female Founder got to the issue of the role of your father in your life. And Sara Blakely talked about the influential role of her father. And of course, this played into a dynamic here in which we had to think about how Meghan has treated her father. So Sara Blakely, the inventor of the SPANX, said that her father was integral to her business journey, serving as her company's informal board for 16 years. Her old man was like, he was the board of directors, because she did something called bootstrapping. That means you try to run the company yourself on a low cost. You try to do everything yourself. So her father, who was a top attorney, was really the board of directors. He was the management. He was the sounding board to give her sage advice. She says, SPANX never had a board. For 16 years, the board was my dad. And he encouraged failure because it demonstrated experimentation. She said that her father's unique approach to discussing failures at the dinner table defined the concept of positivity, because he was always trying to get us to redefine failure growing up and understand that failure is about experimentation and it's about growth. And Meghan sat there. So Meghan's hearing about how great Sara Blakely's father was, how much time he invested in his daughter's project and her development. And Meghan said, oh, that's amazing. That's so wonderful. She expressed admiration for Blakely's upbringing, noting the balance of pragmatism and creativity imparted by her father. And yet, Meghan can sit there whilst Sara Blakely praises her father, and not a squeak out of Meghan, out of Duchess Difficult, about her own father, Thomas Markle Sr., who gave her everything. So he gave her life. He was a senior lighting director on several big TV shows in the United States, including General Hospital. And so it was great for her because she was born in LA, which is the global capital of entertainment. She was going to be an actress. Where better to be born than La La Land? She has Thomas to thank for that. And she has Thomas to thank for the fact that he parented her when she was young. He was the solo parent. Doria was off gallivanting. I don't know what she was doing. According to Tom Bauer, in his excellent book about the Duchess, he speculates that she saw other men and that she quite enjoyed the jazz cigarettes, with which, of course, Harry is so familiar. And so, but here is the thing. Thomas was the lead parent for many years, Meghan's formative years. And he was a busy guy, but he would still drive her to school, try to pick her up from school in the middle of his busy day. And when he couldn't, he would send a limousine from the studio where he was filming, bring Meghan to the studio, and she could sit there and watch the actors and enjoy this glamorous world. He gave all of that to her, but it doesn't stop there. He gave her so much money, acting lessons. He also taught her to act himself because he understood the process of acting because he'd been watching so many actors as a lighting director. And he paid for a very exclusive private school, private high school, and then Northwestern. The bill we've calculated on the Mark Dolan show in today's money, Thomas Markle has forked out the best part of $500,000 on his daughter. And now he's been banished because he posed for a couple of paparazzi photographs before the wedding. And now he's been banished by ruthless Meghan. And today I can reveal that he doesn't even get a mention in her podcast while the guest talks about the importance of your father's role in your life. She can't bring herself to mention Thomas. Would it be so difficult to say, oh, Sarah, your father sounds amazing. Mine was amazing too. Unfortunately, we're not in touch at the moment, but he spent so much money on my education. He raised me single-handedly and he introduced me to the world of showbiz. Oh, and he called me his princess. And in fact, he was such a loving father that my half-siblings were quite jealous because I was the apple of his eye. All of those things, by the way, provably true. And she can't bring herself to mention big Thomas Markle, who now lives in the Philippines in a high-rise which overlooks a 7-lane highway. And Meghan's okay with that. She's happy that a guy that invested so much money, time and love into her is now living in a high-rise adjacent to a 7-lane highway. How much sleep does poor Thomas Markle get? Cars zooming past. And it's the Philippines. There'll be a lot of dirty diesel engines, trucks, that kind of thing. So the air is going to be absolutely horrific. God knows what the drinking water is like. I mean, the Philippines, I'm sure it's a nice country. A third of people in the Philippines live below the poverty line. And it looks like Thomas Markle is one of them. Meanwhile, Meghan, from her 16-bathroom Montecito mansion, couldn't care less. It's really shocking. Of course, we know the relationship collapsed in 2018. In 2021, in that terrible Oprah interview, Meghan confirmed that she'd split from her father. By the way, how do you split from your father? You can't split from your father. Your father is your father forever, Meghan. It's non-negotiable. And she said, I've lost my father. I've lost my father. You have lost nothing. You have thrown your father away. You've thrown him under the bus. And now he's listening to buses as he tries to sleep in a high-rise adjacent to a 7-lane highway. Before their fallout, she was full of love for him. In her dreadful blog, the Tig, she said, our club sandwich and fruit smoothie tradition after my tap and ballet classes was truly memorable. He religiously took me on Saturday mornings after working to all my classes. After working 75 hours a week, he was my inspiration. She has spoken lovingly about him, and now she gaslights him in her latest media appearance. It's absolutely devastating. And here's the thing, Thomas wants reconciliation. He's on the record as saying that he's desperate to meet Archie and Lily. He said, I'd love to reunite and bring the whole family together. It's not going to happen, is it? And how does Thomas Markle feel when he listens to that podcast, which he probably does because he just wants some evidence of his daughter. He wants a strand of DNA. He watches the documentaries. He watches the TV shows. He's listening to the podcasts because that's the only way he gets access to his own daughter, who, be clear, he still loves. But does Meghan love her father? I don't know if Meghan loves anything except the reflection in her own mirror. Quite shocking. So, folks, there you are. Fascinating conversation that we've had. There's a lot more to come. So many stories bubbling away. Thank you for your support for this brand new channel. Please hit subscribe if you can and like if you've enjoyed the video. And please hit the notification reminder bell because then when a video lands, you get a message about it. How handy is that? Can't wait for the next video. Stay awesome. See you soon.